Welcome to this overview video on how a partnership between a university and its community partners is focused on improving post-disaster housing recovery for vulnerable populations in the Hampton Roads region of coastal Virginia. Specifically, in this video, I will talk about challenges faced by displaced individuals and households, especially those who are low to modest income and medically fragile, and how the Convergence, Inventory, Matching, and Assignment or CEMA platform is designed to optimize post-event housing repair of displaced vulnerable populations. I will also review how we engage stakeholders and end users in understanding issues underpinning housing recovery to ensure that the CEMA platform and approach to post-disaster housing recovery not only meets the needs of the community, but also builds capacity within the region to address the hurdles faced during housing recovery. My name is Dr. Wee Youssef, and I am a professor of public service at Old Dominion University and assistant director of ODU's Institute for Coastal Adaptation and Resilience. I'm also the program lead for the Virginia Climate Adaptation and Resilience Program. I'm representing the various partners on this project, Dr. Linda Rice and Vivian Oden with the Hampton Roads Community Foundation, Dr. Bridget Giles, Dr. Wee Youssef, Dr. Rafael Diaz, and Dr. Joshua Baer with Old Dominion University, Gina Harris with the City of Portsmouth, and Doug Beaver with the City of Norfolk, to give you this overview of the CEMA platform and our efforts to speed housing recovery post-disaster. Every year, weather events affect millions of Americans. Many communities across the U.S. have struggled to adapt to the increasing frequency and severity of these events. Severe weather events, such as hurricanes, have the potential to inflict widespread structural damage to homes, displacing people and households. These displaced households suffer enormously. The length of time between initial displacement from the home and returning once again to stable, functional housing varies greatly across populations. Low to modest income households and medically fragile households tend to have lengthier displacements. Displacement is associated with increased pain, suffering, and reduced longevity, impacting health and well-being, creating disparities in opportunities and educational attainment, and decreasing employment stability. Repairing housing sooner rather than later lessens the disparate health, education, and economic impacts, especially for vulnerable households. Vulnerable and medically fragile households face daunting hurdles in the repair of their damaged homes. We know that a painful recovery process awaits many of the most vulnerable and medically fragile households. Following an event, volunteer labor and donated materials from many different sources flow into the impacted region. However, the matching of supply of donated materials and volunteer labor with the need for repair among particularly vulnerable households is less than optimal. It is essential to more optimally match supply with the need so that lengthy displacement times common among low to moderate income households will be meaningfully reduced, thus addressing fundamental inequities in recovery and well-being. In response to this community identified need, a partnership among the Hampton Roads Community Foundation, Old Dominion University, and the cities of Portsmouth and Norfolk is developing a process to better connect available resources flowing into the region with the repair needs so that lengthy displacement times common among low to moderate income households will be meaningfully reduced. The CEMA platform fills a known gap in the ability of nonprofit recovery organizations to manage arriving materials and labor, identify households likely to suffer the greatest displacement times, and optimize the scheduling of repairs for the households that are most vulnerable. The CEMA platform is intended to optimize post-disaster housing repair efforts for displaced vulnerable populations. CEMA is a decision support and coordination platform that, when used by recovery organizations, will decrease the lengths of time that vulnerable and medically fragile households remain displaced. At a high level, the CEMA process model looks like this. The convergence of inflowing donated materials, equipment, and tools, as well as volunteer labor, is the supply side of the equation. These assets are directed towards designated warehouses and staging yards where they are inventoried. Simultaneously, data from the damage assessments of targeted vulnerable households are entered into the system. This is the demand or need side of the equation. The need is matched with the supply. The materials and labor are encumbered, and work packages are generated. These work packages are then prioritized using SEMA's optimization scheduling module to optimize decreases in displacement times by prioritizing repairs for those households with the longest expected displacement times. These prioritized work packages are then assigned, materials are staged, work teams are formed, and repairs are executed.
To me, success for the SEMA platform would be a platform that has been vetted, that has undergone verification and validation, a platform that is useful and operable to different organizations in terms of the IT aspect. So this platform has to be useful for the individuals that are going to be using it, whether it be citizens that may not have a high school education, whether it be government officials. These different modules have to be user friendly for those that it's meant to be used by.
As we develop the SEMA platform, we are also working to determine that it meets the need of the community and builds capacity within the region to address the hurdles faced during post-disaster housing recovery. This early work was supported by a planning grant from the National Science Foundation. This planning grant helped our team to close the loop, meaning to engage ahead of time stakeholders and end users who will be the beneficiaries of the tool so that the approach and concept can be shaped and informed at the earliest stages. Over the last 4 months, our focus has been on improving our understanding of the issues and challenges for housing recovery and how we can build community capacity for pre-event planning for recovery. We also sought to identify hurdles encountered by displaced vulnerable populations and obtain feedback on potential effectiveness in addressing these hurdles. We conducted structured community engagement activities known as visioning events focused on evaluating the SEMA concept. Specifically, the visioning events were intended to assess the potential utility of the SEMA platform, to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the SEMA concept, and refine, with stakeholder recommendations, the specification requirements for SEMA. We held a series of visioning events with different stakeholder groups. These visioning events were conducted sequentially, beginning with 2 community-centric visioning events involving representatives of nonprofit and community organizations, followed by 2 government-centric visioning events with local government staff from functions such as planning, housing, community development, emergency management, social services, and community resilience. Finally, we hosted a foundation-centric visioning event with leaders of community foundations and other philanthropic organizations. These stakeholders have direct experiential knowledge of household flood-related adaptive capacities, vulnerable populations, and disaster recovery. Participants envisioned how recovery would unfold for vulnerable and medically fragile households, specifically identifying hurdles and challenges. Then, participants visioned how the recovery might unfold should the SEMA concept be deployed by a recovery nonprofit. Insights from the visioning events provide answers to 2 questions. First, what are the barriers faced by displaced low to moderate income and medically fragile households in the recovery process? And second, what non-government centric approaches have the greatest potential to shorten displacement times for these households? These answers offer important information for technical development of the SEMA platform and user needs and specifications. Thanks to our work over the last 4 months, the SEMA platform is better grounded in the housing recovery needs of the community. And in the broader context, we have engaged stakeholders throughout the community to build the capacity for using the SEMA platform to improve post-disaster housing recovery. But our work on post-disaster recovery isn't just about the SEMA platform as a tool. It also highlights how universities can partner with the community. in this case, the Hampton Roads Community Foundation and the cities of Norfolk and Portsmouth, to make a difference in their communities. Hear what Dr. Linda Rice, Vice President for Grant Making at the Hampton Roads Community Foundation, has to say about our partnership.
In the past, we've been a funder for an organization, a funder of the university. In this situation, not only are we a funder, but we truly are a partner, and we are helping to bring people together to be in the visioning sessions. We are talking about how this program can make, and this tool can make our community better. And that's what we're about at the foundation, making the lives of those who live in our community better. And that's all lives. And this project is focused on medically fragile and vulnerable. Our emphasis at the foundation is on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And right now we are focusing on racial equity. What better project could we be involved with than this one to meet the needs of our most vulnerable community? So I see it as an honor and a privilege that the foundation had an opportunity to partner with a research institution to even think about a project that could strengthen our nonprofit community and strengthen our most vulnerable populations.
Thank you for your time and attention. Should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our team.